Alright everyone, today's video is going to be covering Red Dead Redemption 2, and at the opposite end of the spectrum as my previous video discussing the Anthem game, in which I talked about all of the different red flags coming out of BioWare and EA and regarding that title, this is going to discuss all of the positive signs and the green flags coming from Red Dead Redemption 2 and Rockstar Studios. The first positive sign to me is that the game is in fact a sequel, and the original Red Dead Redemption itself was not a failure of a game that limped along and slowly got built up to what it should have been and had a ton of red flags along the way. It was widely accepted as a successful open world game from Rockstar, and it was something that a lot of players supremely enjoyed. The simple fact that its predecessor was a well-crafted success does not de facto make Red Dead Redemption 2 successful, especially because we don't have that much information at the moment. However, what it does do is point us in a positive direction and give us strong signs of success. The second thing to look at is the timeline, and since this game is the sequel to a successful title, you would think that they would have pumped it out immediately. A lot of games nowadays in the industry, if they launch and they have any fraction of success whatsoever, within a matter of years or even immediately after release, they're already working on the sequel. And then very soon after, and we see this all across the industry, or even they have these 10-year plans where they're predefining the parameters of how the game is going to develop over a multi-year period before they've even launched it, which is a classic case of counting all of your chickens before any of the eggs hatch, and it's very detrimental to the entire industry. But they're doing these things, they're exhibiting these types of practices, and Red Dead Redemption 2 is not something that has these baked into it. They have taken an adequate amount of time, and the game is coming out on its own 2 feet, and it's not something that's just launching directly after its predecessor had some degree of success to harvest more profits. It clearly appears that they have put the time into crafting it as its own experience. Another side effect of this is that it avoids the whole yearly release of reskinned assets that you see in like Call of Duty or maybe previously the Assassin's Creed series before they revamped that, so props to Ubisoft. But basically they'll release a game very soon after its previous entry, and it will have a lot of the same environmental, assets or items. They'll be reskinned, and really not a lot will change in the game except for some very minor features because they're just repackaging it and then selling it for further profit. Red Dead Redemption, the original, it's been so long since that game came out that this game really can't do that, and I don't see them in any way, shape, or form taking that as a viable business model to sell this game. They're not just going to reskin the previous experience and then offer it to us, and that is something that happens all too often. So this game is safe from that phenomenon, and that is a positive sign to me. The next thing to discuss is all of the different leaks, but I'll compress this as much as possible. I'm not going to dive into detail on each consecutive leak that has happened, but basically we know for a fact that Red Dead Redemption 2 will have multiple online PvP game modes. One will be a battle royale. Whether or not that takes the form of PUBG or Fortnite or a similar style battle royale, we don't know, but it will be a battle royale mode, and with Red Dead Redemption having the subject matter that it does, I think that there's a lot of potential for this to be really, really good. The second thing is that it will also have alternative first-person perspective, so that is also a very big green flag in my eyes, and something that points to the game having a well-rounded experience. I'm really excited for that, and I think that it's a positive thing to know that this early before release. The next thing that has me very optimistic is the presence of a large single-player narrative. A lot of gaming publishers right now are stepping away from single-player content, and they're moving towards more shallow, highly monetized MMORPG-esque material in the hopes that single-player studios and games will just die out and they can make more money from a larger group of people with less content. There are studios and publishers that exemplify this behavior, but Rockstar is not one of them. They do have the ability, as we've seen in the past, to craft a vibrant single-player campaign, and that will be present in Red Dead Redemption 2. So regardless of what you're interested in, if you like Western-style gaming or a Western theme of any kind, if you do like online PvP to some degree, but you also want your core fix of single-player gameplay and an open-world experience, Red Dead Redemption 2 is very likely to deliver to a high degree. Again, considering Rockstar's history of producing true open-world games, there will be diverging plot lines. There will be a plethora of activities ranging from gold mining, fishing, herding, an assortment of weapons challenges, everything of that nature. So there will be a wide range of activities that you can participate in, and it will be a true open-world experience. All too often nowadays, games are parceled out into different sections, and they don't really have that freedom of choice that makes the player feel like they are a meaningful contributor contributing member of that game's society. This game will unlikely have that problem. It should, if all the signs point to anything that can be taken at face value, it will have a true open world experience where decisions matter, and you should be able to feel a sense of attachment to your character, a sense of progression as you evolve through society. From various leaks, we've been able to determine a lot of things, and this is where I'll really compress things down, but there will be horsemanship challenges and races of that kind. There will be plant and herb gathering. There will be crafting, and all the things that come with that. There will be multiple different types of materials that you can gather. You've got fishing, which will be in-depth as well, with a different selection of baits and tackles that you can purchase and upgrade, and all of these different things. So the facilities that they're putting into this open world game, they themselves are unique and they do have depth. So it's not going to be something super shallow, like you just stand in one spot and throw the bait into the water and then get one specific type of fish and then sell that one specific type of fish for money. It's going to be much more in-depth than that. And that is the type of thing that we love to see, or at least I love to see in open world games and in any game as a whole, having these different side effect systems that you can get lost in and get immersed in. The last thing that I wanted to mention, though this one might net me a little bit of criticism, I still feel like it's worth talking about, is that Rockstar Studios is fairly well insulated from this kind of predefined checklist fringe group mentality of compelled speech, where certain games, they're getting this predefined list of criteria held up to their artistic piece, where they have to do certain things, and if they don't do these certain things, then there's outrage, whatever those things end up being. When you put limitations on the creative process like that, especially a very long, ever-developing list of limitations, it will hurt the overall game, and Rockstar doesn't really play ball like that. Most often, someone is the butt of every joke or something, and Rockstar does not shy away from satire. They don't shy away from comedy in general, because they've recognized that stories oftentimes have victims, they have antagonists, they have protagonists, and you can't just apply this sort of gray washing middle ground to all of the narrative to make sure that there is no one ever offended by anything. And as long as they have that mentality and they subscribe to that belief system, I think that they'll produce games that are better than their competition. And I'm excited to see what Red Dead Redemption 2 has to offer, because when you are holding up giant checklists to things before they're even produced, like I said, it will inevitably hurt the artistic process, and Rockstar, they don't really conform to that. So as we've seen in Grand Theft Auto and many other previous works by Rockstar, they will produce a story with the intent of having a good, positive, well-crafted narrative, rather than producing something simply for the sake of getting positive press. And they'll probably do better because of it, because they've established that sort of reputation. So again, it just speaks to them being uninfluenced by outside factors. And in the current industry, where everything is trying to influence other things to conform to their belief systems, I think that Rockstar having that sort of mindset is a tremendous green flag and positive sign for this game as a whole. If you want to find additional information on the game, there is a wealth of content creation channels out there that cover it. There is a ton of internal documents that have been circulated. There are so many different leaks. There are, a lot of different avenues to find that information if you desire to do so. Things like hinted at railway trains with internal explorable environments and all the passengers having unique dialogue options. Things like hand carts or armored carriages or light fast carriages and various other vehicles, and the list goes on and on. There is a lot of information out there. I'm not going to cover that kind of, in-depth individual information and specifically the leaks. I just wanted to do a more overarching video talking about the positive signs coming out right now about Red Dead Redemption 2, especially given its, sort of near on the horizon release date this year, but still at least a ways off in the distance, and just really discuss the topic because of all the positive signs that I've been seeing. I did just cover Anthem and talk about the negative signs, so this is kind of my other side of the coin. As a final aside, I am by no means endorsing someone to digitally pre-order the game without any further information. I think that until we see a beta and actual gameplay footage, a large amount of it, maybe even after the point where they've lifted the review embargo, until you have concrete information and you absolutely know that what you are purchasing will be free from predatory practices, will be a well-crafted, finished, deserving experience, I don't think that we should digitally pre-order or build too much hype. But I do think that getting excited for things, and this is why I wanted to make this video in particular, some people say that, I try and make it out to be that no one should ever be excited for anything. No, I am excited for this this game, you can be excited, but maintain skepticism, maintain reasonable expectations, even with a game that you're super excited about. So this game has a lot of positive signs, but still, wait for more gameplay. Wait for the review embargo to be lifted. Wait until you have concrete information that what you are purchasing is something that you will get value out of and truly, thoroughly enjoy. That's it though. I'll stop harping on that subject. That's pretty much all that I have for today. If you want to support the channel or get involved with the various other sections of the community, there's a ton of links down below. We have the Facebook group. I do stream on Twitch at times. You know, we have the individual website forums if you want to get involved there. We have a Discord server. And I've been thinking about streaming on YouTube. I'm not positive. I wouldn't necessarily quit Twitch or anything like that, but it seems like YouTube might be a nice place to stream from time to time for announcements and various, you know, smaller sections of gameplay footage. Who knows? It's just something I've been bouncing the idea around. So if you have feedback on that, let me know down in the comments below as well. I would appreciate it. But that's pretty much it. If you, again, want to get involved in Upper Echelon in any way, there's a bunch of ways to do so. And yeah, we would welcome you as a member. So thank you for watching. And again, as always, have a nice night.